Hello everybody and welcome to this week's video. In this week's video, we are talking about a few key things to editing your images. I've really looked at this and boiled it down to really 5 key things that you need to keep in mind when editing your images. This is going to help you edit better images, make your images look a lot better. I know for a lot of photographers, they feel like they've got things figured out in the field, but they struggle with editing their images. So these 5 things are always things that you need to keep in mind when you're editing your images. I've got a few images I'm going to show you of mine to kind of demonstrate an example of what I mean. And you're going to see exactly these 5 things, exactly what I mean, exactly how you're going to make your images a lot better. So write these things down, save them, put them in a book, whatever it is, and always keep them in mind when you're editing your photos. Let's go ahead and jump right in and begin to look at some images. So the first thing that's important is that you have a good image, first of all. And obviously there's a lot of factors that go into creating a good image. You guys can check out my other video that talks about what makes an image really good. But I'll tell you guys briefly kind of what makes images good in my opinion. First of all, the thing that I always like about a good image is something interesting is going on, whether that be good light, a good sunset, a cool contrast between the foreground and the background. It's a nightscape. It's whatever it is. In this photo, you can see we've got cool morning light hitting this mountain, and we've got this nearly full moon directly straight above the mountain reflecting in the water. What also makes this photo good is the composition is really interesting. We've got these logs coming right into the photo, leads you right in. So in my opinion, that's what makes a photo good. Now, is the sky boring? Yes, it's blue, but it is what it is. I still think this is a good image because of this moon here. Now, without this moon, this is a very boring photo. So this tiny little thing makes this a good photo. So you might be thinking, why are we talking about that you need a good image? Because we need to be talking about post-processing. We're talking about 5 things that make your post-processing better. But this is the first thing. You need to start with a good image. I'm showing you guys kind of what makes that good image because I'm here to tell you guys that if your image sucks to begin with, your photo in the end is also going to suck. You need to start with something that's good. Start with an image that's at least decent. Give yourself something to work with because it's really hard to make something from nothing here. Now, the other thing that makes an image really good, as I mentioned, is light. So you can see there's some beautiful light hitting here, but not only in this photo does the light make it good, but the S-curve is really visually satisfying. We've got this nice S-curve coming through the image. I want to show you guys why light is so important. This is the photo I took the day before. The light is not very good. Even though the light is hitting, this is midday light, it's hitting the top. So it is really covering all over on the foreground. I came back the next morning and got this photo where the light is a lot softer. It's a lot easier to look at than this photo. So light is so important. Now, when I was out here shooting on this particular morning, same morning, like I said, this was the light a little bit earlier. You can see that it's just hitting the beginning of the trees. This is probably right after sunrise, and this is probably maybe an hour after sunrise. So I waited around to get that perfect light to make this really nice image to start my edit off with, because if I would have left after I got this shot, it would have looked a lot worse on the final image, but because all the trees are lit up here, the final image is really nice. Now, a lot of you guys may be thinking, I don't always have great light, so can I not make a great image to start my edit with? But you still can make a great image. I've got this photo here. You can see there's no light. It's totally flat light hitting the scene. But what makes this image good is contrast. So if you don't have light, you need to have a lot of contrast. The idea is that contrast is usually made by the light, but if the light is not creating contrast, you can create it with other things such as color. You can see that this image is really nice because the tree contrasts really, really starkly with this background, which is gray. The tree is yellow. So I'm starting with a great image here that's going to help me to create the best edit. So that is my first tip. Start with a good image. That will get you on the right track to a great edit. The less we can edit, the better. We want that image to be as good as possible coming out of the camera. Key number 2 to editing your images is white balance. White balance is so incredibly important. I'm going to show you guys why. In my opinion, it's the most important thing in editing your photo. You can see here, this is the photo pretty much straight out of the camera. I've adjusted the shadows a little bit just because it was really dark here. So I've just adjusted the shadows so you can see the whole image. But I shoot on auto white balance, and you can see there's a pretty nice sunrise, or you will be able to see if there's a nice sunrise in a second here. The problem is the white balance is not good at all. It's just terrible. And it really ruins the image. Everything is really blue, but we've got this nice sunset going on. I want to show you guys after I corrected the white balance. This is the final edited image. You can see it looks awesome. We don't have that color cast anymore. Color cast will ruin your image. You have to correct the white balance. So important. I've also got a video on how to correct the white balance. You guys need to check that out. Trust me, white balance is so important. I'll show you briefly on this photo how I would go about correcting the white balance. I'm going to bring this up here. It's already bright enough. Like I said, I brought up the shadows because it was pretty dark. So now I can see things. I just want to adjust the temperature and the tint until I feel like there's no more color cast. And I can even drop the highlights here so I can see a little bit of the sunrise. And I'm just going to bring this down here, bring the tint over a little bit, and it's looking really good right in there. Now, of course, I edited this image, so that's why it looks a lot better in this photo because I applied my full edit, but I've got the white balance on track now. And essentially what you want to do with white balance is make sure that there is no color cast. So what I see a lot of photographers doing, they make this huge mistake. And the mistake is that they want to make the sunrise look even better. It already looks pretty good in this photo. But if you wanted to make it even better, if you had a sunrise that wasn't that good, people will just crank the temperature because look at that sunrise. It just keeps getting better and better and better. And obviously this is a little extreme of an example, but I'll see people go like somewhere in here because the sunrise looks a lot better. But look at your rocks. You've got this weird color cast. Now you can see in my final image here, in my opinion, it looks natural because look at the rocks. You can see that there's a little bit of a glow on the rocks, but in the spaces like right here where it's in shadow, the rock isn't really tinted any particular color. Whereas if we go back here, when we adjust the white balance, if we bring it up like this, you can see the shadows of the rock are tinted yellow. We do not want those shadows tinted at all. We want them to be as neutral as possible. And then maybe the spots that are getting light, it's okay if those are tinted, but we do not want that rock to be tinted. So that's kind of the short and sweet way of balancing the white balance. I will post the video, like I said here, that you guys can go figure out a few more details and how to balance the whites a little bit better. But that's kind of the short and sweet. It is so incredibly important that you get the white balance correct in your image. If your white balance is incorrect, you will not make a good image. I'm here to tell you that right now. White balance is the most important thing. You have to nail this white balance. So the next really important key to editing your images is contrast. You've got to nail the contrast as well. I know there's a lot of things that you have to nail, but contrast is really important. There's lots of different kinds of contrast. There's micro contrast. There's just overall contrast with the slider. So you need to really figure out how to make those contrasts look really good. Let's go ahead and look at an image. You can see this is the edited image here. I really like the balance of contrast on this image. A lot of people will look at their histogram, but I don't like looking at the histogram when I'm editing the contrast because to me, the histogram is a graph. I'm creating a photograph or art here. I'm going to create it how I want, how I like the look. Histogram doesn't matter to me because a lot of people will say that, well, you want your histogram to be centered in the middle. If I'm going to do that, my image is going to be way blown out, as you can see. So don't bother with the histogram. A lot of people will tell you to look at that for the contrast. I say, forget it. Don't worry about that at all. Look at the image when you adjust the contrast. And on a lot of images, you don't need to add a lot of contrast. On some, you need to add a little bit. And a lot of times, this is just controlling the highlights and the shadows. So on this image, what I really like is I've got really, really darks here. You can see some spots that are almost completely pitch black. And then I've got some really, really brights here, some highlights. So in most of my images, I'm going to try and have something that is almost completely white and something that's almost completely black to add the largest tonal range to my image as I possibly can. And this image is just a great example of that. I want to show you guys another image here where I didn't have to add a lot of contrast. A lot of images you won't. This is the image I started with, and this is the edited image. You can see hardly any contrast has been added here. When I bring this up, you can see I've only added 26 points of contrast. A lot of photographers will go when they're first editing here and they will just crank this contrast slider. Don't do that. Trust me, do not do that. Just add a little bit of contrast. You're going to use highlights, shadows, whites, and blacks to add contrast yourself. And I really like lowering the highlights here and bringing up the shadows rather than just cranking on the contrast because this gives me a finer tune control. Now you can see that before I edited this, when my highlights were at 0, this is pretty blown out here. So I brought the highlights down to bring in more details down here as well as up here. And then I brought the shadows up to bring in some detail of the water. So make sure that you aren't just reefing on this contrast slider. In fact, the contrast slider is the last thing I adjust. So I adjusted everything else. My contrast was still at 0. And then I went back and I slid this up a little bit. And you don't want so much contrast that you're already creating those really bright, such as right here, and really dark spots, such as right here or over here. But you just want to give yourself something to work with. If you're just editing in Lightroom, of course you need to finish your edit here, but if you're editing in Photoshop and you're gonna bring this to Photoshop after you edit in Lightroom, really make sure that you don't reef on this contrast slider here, because you can add some more later on. Just add a little bit here and call it a day. If you are finishing your edit here in Lightroom, just add enough to where you feel it looks natural. I'll see a lot of people that like adding a lot of contrast like this because it adds saturation to the photo. It looks pretty nice, and I don't really like it though. To be honest with you, I like to keep it looking realistic. I like to think, you know, if I'm looking at my computer screen like I'm looking through a window at this scene, what is it going to look like? And it's probably going to look something about like that for me, maybe even less contrast. I mean, the world is not a super contrasty place unless there is a lot of direct light. So just keep that in mind. Don't add too much contrast. It's way, way, way better to add too little contrast than too much. So when in doubt, bring that contrast slider down and work with it that way. All right, the fourth key to editing amazing images is to always use a vignette. And I can talk till I'm blue in the face about this. I've made so many other videos talking about how you always need to use a vignette. I will link one here of how I make my vignettes, because I think it is the best way to make a vignette, and you guys should be doing it the same way. It's totally customizable, you know, all the good stuff. So I'm going to link that here, but you need to use a vignette on every photo. Let's jump in here and I'll show you guys exactly why. All right, so I've got this image here. This just has some basic sliders adjusted to it. Then I brought it to Photoshop and made a few adjustments, but the largest one is the vignette. So let's look at a before and an after, and a before and an after. Look at the difference that the vignette makes. Now, before, you can see everything is the same lightness value. So when you look at this image, subconsciously, your viewer's eye is kind of escaping the frames on the edges over here, because it's all the same tonal value, meaning it's all the same brightness. It doesn't get any darker, it doesn't really get any lighter. It's the same thing. If anything, it might even get lighter here because this rock is in shadow. So when you add the vignette, you can see now we've got darker edges. And most people, unless you're a photographer, they probably wouldn't be able to tell. If I just showed you this image, they wouldn't be able to tell or know that, okay, they added darkness around the edge. They would think that's just natural. So the vignette is so incredibly important because it makes it so that the center of your subject is brighter than the outside to keep your eye in the middle. And let's watch this one more time. The other thing I do with my vignette is I brighten the middle. So I darken the outside and brighten the middle. And it makes just a huge difference to bring your viewer's eye into the center. A vignette is so important. Don't overdo it though. You have to be really careful. When you create this vignette, make sure that it looks natural. I mean, you don't want something that is so incredibly dark that people will think that it is fake. And let's find the vignette here. It's under effects. And when we lower this, you can see once we get around here, it just doesn't look realistic because it's so dark on the outside, which is why I went with just this vignette here, which is pretty subtle. I mean, you can tell that it's there now that I told you, of course, but if I didn't tell you, like I said, you probably wouldn't know that it's there because these clouds are just slightly darker than the ones below them. So use that vignette. Check out that video that I posted earlier of how to make the vignette, because you should be brightening the center too. In my opinion, I think it makes your images look really nice. So that is key number 4 to editing great images. The fifth and final key to editing your images, this one took me a while to figure out. I really thought long and hard, but it is something that I see so many photographers make the mistake of doing. And that key is to not overuse the presence sliders in Lightroom. So that's going to be texture, clarity, and dehaze. I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to show you guys exactly why not to overuse these filters. So the problem with these sliders is they are really like eye candy. So if you're a new photographer, these are something that you probably love to just crank because it just makes your images look like they were taken with a really professional camera and makes things really sharp and really nice looking. So let's kind of look at these. Texture is a newer slider that was added in the last little bit. You don't want to go down, obviously, because it makes your image looks like it was out of focus or it's like a painting or something. You do want to go up if you're going to use it, but you don't want to go up too far. So you can see when I have this at 0, this is what the image looks like. And when I bring it up to 100, it's like eye candy. You're like, oh my gosh, everything is so sharp. It looks so nice. But think realistically here. Like if you're actually looking at this scene in person, everything is not going to be so sharp like this. That would hurt your eyes. And it honestly hurts my eyes just looking at this image. So consider avoiding using the texture or just using like 20 points or less. I usually hardly use any texture. Now, when we drop down to clarity, essentially what clarity is doing is adding a micro contrast. Again, you don't really want to drop this. It kind of makes your image look blurry, but a lot of times I'll add 10 points or so. When you add more points, you just add too much contrast. And then we go back to one of the other keys that I was talking about where you don't want to add too much contrast. So this adds a fine-tuned contrast. Again, this makes it really hard to look at. Avoid using more than 10 or 15 points of clarity. Now, lastly, we have this dehaze slider here. This is another one that gets out of hand pretty quick. Usually I do not subtract dehaze unless I'm trying to kind of make things look a little bit more foggy. And if I add dehaze, it's less than 10 points usually. Sometimes I'll go up to 15 or 20, but it's very, very rare because you'll see that as you add this, it really kind of brings out the colors in the image, which colors are something that new photographers really, really like. I mean, all photographers like color, I guess, unless you're a black and white photographer, of course, but color is not always good. More color is not always better. Again, I want to keep my images looking as realistic as possible. So avoiding using these sliders, or if I am using them, I'm using them less than 15 points each, just to kind of keep things looking realistic. Trust me, your camera is probably doing a good enough job capturing those really sharp details. So avoid using these 3 sliders at all costs, or just use them in really, really, really small amounts. All right, guys, that is a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and maybe you even checked out some of the links to the other videos that are in this video to see like how to do a vignette or a couple of the other things that I talked about. I really hope that was helpful for you guys. I know there's a lot of you guys that are newer photographers out there, and I hope these tips will help you guys to avoid some of these mistakes and really nail these 5 keys that are going to help you guys edit your photos to perfection. These are some things that I spent a lot of time thinking about, and I kind of boiled it down to 5 things that make or break a photo when you're editing it. So use these 5 tips to help you create really nice photos. If you guys have any questions, of course, I'm happy to answer them down below in the comments. Please just let me know. Otherwise, we will see you guys next weekend. I want to thank you guys so much for checking this out. As always, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. It really helps me grow the channel as a whole. I really appreciate you guys checking it out. We'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.